We should be live, officially, where everyone can hear us. Yeah.
Hello, welcome. I'm Alex, and I'm joined by Sarah, Kiki, as well as very special guests, Addy and Susan from the Golden Gate Basset Rescue. And for those of you who are joining us for the first time, we are a board game for dog lovers making a difference. And in the game, you take on the role of a dog at a shelter, and one of our main characters playable dogs is a Basset Hound, and you'll take that dog through a journey to see what the story is, going through events at the rescue to gain attributes that have the adopters fall in love with you and then be adopted into one of the 6 forever homes. So and of course we've invited and very delighted to have the Golden Gate Basset Rescue join us and contribute to this live stream and just join us to talk a little bit about their organization, Basset Hounds in general, and I'm learning a whole bunch of stuff just in the last 10 minutes around
that was great content.
What a Basset Hound is, yeah. I know, yeah. So we're gonna do it again. So, Addy, if you wouldn't mind, would you just go again, do a quick intro for yourself, and please tell us the story of how you got involved with the Golden Gate Basset Rescue.
Okay. Okay. So I'm Addy Dawes. I am the Secretary Treasurer for Golden Gate Basset Rescue. I'll tell you how I got involved at all. So you can probably tell by my accent, I'm originally from England, and back there we had Springer Spaniels. They were our heart dogs. We knew we were emigrating, so we didn't have a dog when we came over here. We took a pause. And fully intended, once we got a dog, it would be a Springer Spaniel. But one day, my husband brought home a Basset Hound puppy that his boss had given him, and I began to learn about Basset Hounds. This was November 2004. So I did some research, and I found some meetup groups, and I went and met other people with Basset Hounds and began to learn about the breed. And in so doing, found out about rescue, got involved, began to foster, do things like that. And then in January 2007, they invited me to come onto their board as secretary, with the promise that this would be manage the snail mail mailing list and organize 4 board meetings a year. Not a lot of work. Okay, fine, I'll do it. And this was literally about 2 years after I got my first Basset Hound. So I knew nothing about the breed, really. I was not an experienced Basset owner. But I was learning fast, and I've spent the last almost 14 years learning the same thing. And that's how I got into Basset Hounds. And they are the best breed ever.
That's awesome.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, I would definitely want to hear, and I want to hear that story of how your husband came home with just, here's a puppy. Like, you go to work. Okay, come home. How did this dog get here? I want to hear that story. Awesome. So why don't we let Susan, would you mind introducing yourself, your experience with Bassets, how you fell in love with the breed, and also to your involvement with both Golden Gate Basset Rescue and Dog Spawn Game?
Sure. Yeah. So my name is Susan. I'm a kind of a lifelong Basset Hound lover. I don't know how it originated, but I do know it started when I was a kid. And I remember wanting a Basset Hound when I was a kid, and I have a memory of my mom telling me no, because they howl too much and they make a lot of noise. Although if you were to ask her this now, she doesn't remember this conversation, so I could be making it up. Maybe it was all imagined. I don't know.
She could be
but in
covering
any case,
her butt.
Once I was all grown up and had a house where I could actually have a dog, something with a yard that I wasn't renting, I and the person that I was with at the time decided we were going to get a Basset Hound. So we found an advertisement on Craigslist that presented themselves as being rescue, and drove hours to go and get this puppy. And the picture that was in the advertisement on Craigslist was your typical tricolor Basset, and we get there and it's looks nothing like the picture. It's this little 12-week-old white with like light brown spots Basset Hound, but we fell in love at once, and that was Pearl. And she's now 12 years old, 12 and a half-ish. And she was just everything I could ever hoped for. She's just goofy and funny and loving, and she's just makes me laugh and smile every day. And about 2 years after getting her, we decided that we needed to get her a buddy, and we really tried to get a rescue this time. But we really wanted a puppy, so we got one from a breeder. And then about a month after that, we had also signed up for the mailing list for Golden Gate Basset Rescue. And about a month after getting Penny, so that Pearl would have a playmate, we got this emergency email from Golden Gate Basset Rescue because a breeder that was in the same town as the one we got Penny from was going to be closing its doors and surrendering. I think the estimate in advance, Addy, correct me if I'm wrong, I think the estimate was 20. You guys went there thinking you were going to be getting 20 Basset Hounds from this breeder before it ended up being more like 60.
Yeah, 60 million.
Wow.
Yeah, and then so after that, you know, I learned all about this breeder that I had thought seemed very reputable, and it was the same breeder that we got Penny from, and it just really opened my eyes about, you know, backyard breeding and, you know, the need for rescue. And so we started volunteering with Golden Gate Basset Rescue after that. And a few months, maybe 6 months to a year later, actually started fostering. So that's kind of my background with Basset Hounds and with the rescue. And then fast forward, that was 2009, I think. So fast forward a bunch of years, and Alex is developing this awesome game and needed beta testers, and I got to help with beta testing this dog spawn game, and it's been a lot of fun. It's been fun kind of giving it my little 2 cents about what dog rescue is like, and about the breed, because he had a card for a Basset Hounds, and so it's been that's.
Yeah, I've put you through a lot of prototypes, haven't I? Lots of rules and like, and I very much appreciate your willingness to, you know, explore, like, hey, you know, does this game element, you know, do you find it fun? Does this story element match the breed? Does it match the event? You know, and kind of allowing me to ask all these questions. So thank you so much. And Sarah, you'll get a kick out of this. Every time when I said, you know, you know, I need to go back and talk to one of my advisors about the art, and especially about the Bassets, that's Susan. She's my expert. So
I was just about to ask. Yeah.
Yeah. So the art that we're seeing right now on the screen, right, is for one of the cards, but the character card, the player card, is you know, in the middle of your screen there. And you know, it's so noble and just kind of different than, like, you know, like a droopy dog kind of typical I guess cartoonified version of Bassets. And I was like, Susan, what do you think? And she's like, oh my gosh. Like, I mean, I don't know. Susan, why don't you tell a story of your response to this card, this art?
I loved it. It's so, you know, Basset Hounds have a reputation for being really lazy and being really fat and just being kind of and sometimes in illustrations and stuff that those traits get kind of over exaggerated, I think. So that was, I think, kind of the conversation that I had with Alex. So then when he showed me that this prototype of the dog character card, it was really neat to see You know, that it's not as caricaturized, over exaggerated that you see in a lot of other. It looks like a real. To me, it looks like a real basset. It's not over.
Yeah.
Cartoony.
Yeah, we
It
had
was
actually.
exciting to see that.
If I remember correctly, we had actually talked about doing a version that was a little more like Droopy Dog, but then after, like, I was either, I can't remember if I actually did that sketch or not, but it was either preparing to do it or after having done it, and Alex was like, nope, wait, just kidding, put the brakes on. We heard back from the Bassett expert, and no, the first one that we had is great.
I think it appeals to a lot more people when they see that beautiful dog. Than if you've done a Fred Bassett caricature. So I love the artwork.
I haven't owned a Basset Hound, but I did know a Basset, and he was like, not he very much was not the caricature. Don't get me wrong, he had plenty of lazy moments, like, so does my Boston, but he was also, just more than anything, just like, I don't know if stubborn is even the word. He knew who he was, and that it was his house, and that, like, there's no negotiation. Just like, welcome to my home. Very welcoming, very regal, but also, that's my couch. Excuse me. Like, that's my couch. Please get off. So that was more the, like, Basset Hound that I was used to. It was just like, this is me. Don't, no room for negotiation.
Pearl does that quite often. She's got a spot on the couch that she really loves. And if somebody is in that spot, she'll just sit there and make Rooey kind of noises at them. Roo. Noises at them until they move.
Yeah.
And I know I sent you guys some pictures earlier this week of Penny would be in that spot, and Penny would just look at her like, I'm not moving. So Pearl would force her way in, and the two of them would just be sitting there, like, passive aggressively fighting for this one spot on the couch. But yeah.
How long would that kind of, like, battle for the spot take? Like, because I feel like it sounds like it would almost be something you'd have to watch, or like record it and watch in, like, fast motion, like.
Usually the Pearl ruing to get somebody to move would take maybe 5 minutes. Sometimes she would kind of turn and look back at me like, Mom, help me out here. Which of course I'm laughing too hard, so I'm not helping at all. And then she'd give up and get into the spot, and then that was it. The two of them would just stay in the same spot for hours until one of them decided that they needed to move.
Addy, do you have any stories similar to this, or have you always owned one Basset, or or multiple Bassets at a time? Do you have fosters in your home so that you're working with multiple dogs?
Did you address that to me? Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, I usually only have one Basset that I own. I have fostered lots of dogs over the years, and again, our previous Basset, my first Basset, I should tell you the story of how we got her, because it's relevant to what Susan told you. I had gone back to England for over a Thanksgiving holiday, and my husband went to his boss's house with my two children who lived in America. And they had just got a new puppy. So, of course, they fell in love with the puppy, and that is how, a few days later, my husband's boss said, there's one puppy left in this litter, and every boy should have a dog, every dog should have a boy. So I want to give you this puppy. And he called me up in England and said, Lloyd wants to give us a puppy. And I said, what breed is it? And he said, it's a Basset Hound. And all I could see was the hush puppy face. And I thought, oh my God, a Basset Hound. Yeah, go on, please take it, So we got our first dog. But it turned out that dog was from the same place that Penny came from. And I didn't know that, I knew where she came from. I'd got a leaflet, a card that they give you with the puppy. that said it had had its first vaccinations. And about a year later, we drove up I-5, and I called the place thinking that they would love to see this puppy a year on and see what a beautiful dog she was. And they didn't want to know. Somebody answered the phone, said the owner wasn't there, wasn't interested at all in having us go out to their place, and okay. Then I got involved with rescue, and then we find out that this particular place was basically a puppy mill. And a lot of the traits we saw in Jess was typical of the puppy mill, and those 61 dogs we took in, the traits they had and what Susan had seen in Penny. And it was just a submissive, very sweet, lovely nature, but very under-socialized. Anyway, let's move on to Jess and other dogs. So she was our only dog, but I would bring fosters in. And she was always very sweet. She has no aggression in her at all, but oh my God, she would dominate the house. She would go to every dog bed, every chair, make sure that she was in it if that dog looked like they were going to get there first. And she would just sort of stare them down and say, this is mine, this is mine. We had a couple of fosters that lived with us long enough for her to begin to allow to share spaces. But she was probably the most typical passive-aggressive basset hound I've ever known. Yeah, lots of people, especially in the rescue world, obviously have multiple dogs. I know very few people who've only got one, but my husband insists one at a time.
One at a time. Okay. How about you, Susan?
How about me? What?
One at a time.
Oh no. we had Pearl, and then so we got her in 2007, and then by the time she was 2 or approaching 2, we decided we wanted to get a second one. As we'd learned more about the breed, we'd heard from a number of people. They're really pack animals more than some breeds do really well on their own, but basset hounds in general tend to thrive when they have another playmate. So we just decided we wanted to have a second one anyway. So we ended up getting Penny in 2009, and I've been a 2-dog household ever since. Although when fostering, would usually only had 1 foster dog at a time. So there were 3 dogs in the house whenever I had a foster. There was once or twice where I was fostering 2 dogs. So that was 4. And then a few years into fostering, we got a foster dog that my significant other at the time just fell in love with. And the thought of having him go to some other family was just horrendous for him. So we actually ended up keeping him. So then we had 3 Bassets in the house. And the deal was we can keep Toby as long as we can still keep fostering. So we had Toby, and we tried fostering a couple other dogs, and it worked out. Toby did all right with them. He would be a little he'd resource guard a little bit at first, but once the foster dog had been there for at least a week or 2, they kind of would calm down, and he'd be fine. So yeah, then with fostering, it was typical to have 4 Bassets in the house at the same time. We did have 5 Bassets in the house at one point, and that was
oh my God,
kind of crazy. But every once in a while, that some would come in where they're kind of a bonded pair. So instead of fostering 1, you're fostering 2. And that was always interesting. But yeah, we were the crazy Basset house. But it was great.
Fun Basset house.
Toby has since gone on to move out with my former significant other. Penny passed away. It'll be 3 years ago this April. So 1 Basset hound right now. And then a couple months after Penny passed away, my fiance and I adopted a border collie mix.
Oh.
And she's very high anxiety. If things are out of her routine, she gets very anxious. So we did try fostering about a year ago. And she didn't, the border collie, Wrigley, she did not do very well with that. So we're no longer fostering. But.
Well, we got to do what's best for our pups, right? And
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
That's what everybody's, being motivated to contribute, to these great organizations, same as us, right? We're trying to officially partner and do all the things so that, we can get rescues like yours to adopt us as your official board game. So maybe we can talk a little bit about, since we're already on the topic, maybe let's talk a little bit about Golden Gate Basset Rescue. Let's talk about, what area are you guys serving? How's the best way to get a hold of you guys? So maybe I can direct the question to Addy as one of the board members.
Okay. All right. So Golden Gate Basset Rescue formed in 2005 as an official 501c3 rescue. Had previously been part of the breed clubs, which is quite common. A lot of the breed clubs who look after the breed standards for that specific breed have their own rescue arm. In our case, in about 2004, 2005, there was a lot of concern about liability, and the breed club didn't want to be liable if one of our sort of rescue dogs ended up biting somebody or something. So they wanted us to separate out, so we did. So our president has actually been rescuing basset hounds probably for at least 25 years now.
Wow.
We cover the whole of Northern California. We go down as far as like the Modesto line up to Oregon, and we also cover the Reno Sparks area of Nevada. Basset hounds, they're not filling the shelters. They're not Chihuahuas. They're not pit bulls. We probably rescue between about 60 and 100 basset hounds a year, though. That's quite a lot. That's a couple of weeks.
Wow.
That's probably the reason we cover such a large area, because we don't have to be city-based because the shelter's full of our breed. We can actually cover a wide area. We're foster-based, so we have foster homes all over the place, up past Corning, in Reno, we don't have a premises. It makes for muted network. It's done by phone and email and occasional get-togethers. But it works. So we are based in Petaluma, but that's for tax purposes. Our president lives in Petaluma. The board is distributed completely from Sacramento down to Salinas, to Fairfield, to Union City, where I am. So there's always somebody within reach. And we have a website, so all our applications are taken through the website. We post our available dogs there. We don't have many available dogs at the moment, but we do have about 18 dogs in foster care in total. A lot of our dogs are either in forever foster care, where they are, maybe they're seniors or they've got specific health problems that we really don't expect an adopter to take on. So we continue to meet their needs for the rest of our lives. And then, we're always grateful for the young basset hound that might come through, because that's what every adopter is looking for. But we do have a lot of seniors.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I mean, we have the links to, I think, your organization, your website, Facebook, everything. We've been trying to share that out. So, and again, thank you for joining us on today's stream. Maybe we'll get the word out. And of course, this is being recorded live. So, you've seen some things. But we're hopeful that we can continue to share this message out and across. And I probably should focus right. All these cities that we've mentioned are in the San Francisco Bay Area, and we've got, hopefully, as Sarah and Kiki are actually based in North Carolina, we've actually been able to reach out, partner with, and talk to several rescues in that state as well, and then a couple of others. Hopefully will be joining us for the streams another time. So cool. Thank you so much. So, why don't we? I'm going to change direction a little bit. So I'd love to kind of understand, Susan, your understanding of the breed, the Bassets, and then also too how and you've been integral to this process, especially from just being my Basset Hound kind of resident expert speed dial. Hey, does a Basset Hound do this? So I'd love to kind of I'd love for you to just kind of explain to the folks, like, your experience with the game, and then also too how you've seen it, the gameplay, playing it as the Basset Hound, your thoughts on it.
Yeah, sure. So, as you mentioned at the beginning of this live stream, everybody that plays the game, you're playing as a dog. So, there's each dog breed has its own card, and the players select. I guess, depending upon how they want to do it, can either select a dog at random or choose whichever breed they want. So, of course, the first time that I got the opportunity to play this game, I took the Basset Hound card because I'm a crazy Basset Hound lady. Anytime there's a Basset Hound, anything, I will gravitate towards it. So I decided to play as the Basset Hound. And then one of the neat things about the game is that each dog has its own special abilities. So there's a little icon on the card that as you're playing and you're turning over event cards, if that event card has a little icon that matches the one that's on your breed card or your dog's card, then you might get to do a little something extra on that turn. Whether it's your turn or somebody else that's playing the event card, if your icons match, you as the dog get to do something extra, which might be taking an extra card, stealing from somebody's hand, getting an extra roll of the dice, something like that. And so the first time I'm playing this game, I'm looking at the Basset Hound card, and its special ability is different. So you don't actually have a little icon that matches with an event card. You really don't get to do very much as you're playing the game. It all happens at the end. There's this round at the end, I think. Sorry, Alex, it's been a while since I've played. I think it's called Wag the Tail, or maybe
Wag the Tail. That's right.
Yeah. So there's this round at the end of the game, and the Basset Hound special ability is that you get to do something special during that round, which, I don't know, maybe some people would find that to be kind of a detraction, but I started laughing because I thought it was kind of funny and just very perfect for the Basset Hound in general, because you don't really do a whole lot extra during the game, but then at the end you get kind of this little frenzy of activity. Although I think that the first time we played it, I think you'd get to play maybe one extra thing, and we talked about how I don't know that lines up with some of the extra special stuff that the other people get, so it doesn't really balance out very well. And then we talked about changing the game mechanics so that I think you get to play 2 extra cards at the end, something like that.
Yep.
So you get a little bit more of a benefit for your patience throughout the game. But I just thought that was so funny because Basset Hounds, yes, they are very happy to lay around and do nothing for the majority of the day. But what maybe not a lot of people know is that it's very common for them to get these spurts of activity. Some people call them zoomies. But in my house, the way that my house is set up, there's a fireplace in the middle of the living space between the living room and the kitchen. So it kind of makes this loop. And so when the dogs would get their random burst of 5 or 10 minutes of energy, they would just like run laps. And we call it the Bassett 500 because they would just run laps around the house for like 5 minutes, and they're barking and they're playing and they're chasing each other, and then they're done. And then they go back to just playing around and doing nothing for the rest of the day. So in playing the dog spawn game and having that where you're not really doing much extra during all of the gameplay, but then you get this wag the tail bonus at the end where you get to play extra cards. To me, it was just perfect, and it matched the breed perfectly because of that. But
no, that's
did
awesome.
that answer your question? I have a tendency to ramble. That was what you were looking for.
I mean, so do we. That's why we're doing. That's why I asked to do a live stream. It's like you can't get me to shut up about the game, about cool dogs, about cool stories, about rescue too, right? So that's
I could talk about Basset Hounds for hours. So you might regret inviting me.
Never. Yeah, I think that was such an integral part of kind of designing the game, as far as like being able to tell the story narratively and be true to the breed, right? Sarah and Kiki have played, and they also have dogs, and so when the dog, an event happens, right? And let's say, Sarah's favorite character or dog to play so far has been the Border Collie, and so when you play it, it's like, I get to do something. Like, do I get to do something? I'm waiting for it. I'm looking for it. And whereas the Basset's like pretty hands off, right? Like, you're gonna do something, that's fine. You go ahead. I don't know. And one of the design elements that I really kind of thought about was, for me, when I was designing this game, I was thinking about playing with my 15, 9, and 7-year-old nieces and nephews, and thinking about what's going to be a good way for me, the grown-up, to be entertained, but let them have all kind of that nervous human puppy energy. And I thought, this Basset Hound card is really for the adult in the room. It's the, you know what? I'm playing here, and I know that I have a superpower that's going to happen after all of the nervous energy and all that stuff is going on. Like, you guys can haggle and fight over those things during gameplay, but watch out, right? I'm not out yet. And so for me, that's my I'm the adult in the room. I want to play, but I at the same time might be enjoying a beer or a glass of wine or having a conversation, but I'm still in the game, and it always brings me back to that. So yeah, that was really fun to design as like a game mechanic, and then also to having you to help beta test, play test, all of it was really good in kind of finding and striking that balance between the special abilities that the Basset has and the special abilities that the other dogs have. So I don't know, Sarah and Kiki, you guys have played the game several times, so have you gotten an opportunity to kind of see the Basset in action very much?
Yeah, when Kiki and I played, I don't remember what I did. Do you remember, you played the Jack Russell, right? And I think I did the Border Collie again. So in that game we didn't get a chance to play the Basset Hound, but in some of my favorite playtests have actually included the Basset Hound card, because it is like, it's always heartbreaking. So now I know that you've done versions where like they get to play one card at the end or play 2 cards. Now it's, unless it's changed, it is roll a die to determine how many cards you get to play. So
the special ability as it stands today is at the wag the tail phase, you will get to draw 1, play 1 automatically, and then you roll the die, and whatever number you get to play that many cards. So if you've got 5 cards, 6 cards in your paw, and you roll 6, Here comes.
Yeah, and I have definitely played games where people have rolled a 6 and just been able to enact ruin upon the rest of the table because they can, because at that point it's like everything is already shook out as much as it's going to shake out, and so you know exactly where to hit other players if you want to be competitive like that. But I've also had some where it's like they roll a 1. Or I had one where somebody didn't have any cards in their hand, so it didn't really matter what they rolled, so they didn't get to play anything. But the ones that, like, when you can, if you play your cards right, that's not even a pun, it's just literally describing. You're playing with cards, and if you do it right, then, like, you can turn the entire game around in your favor at the end with this card.
Yes.
Awesome. So, and then, Susan, I want to ask you, you've seen this art, and actually also to open it up to Addy. So you've seen the art on the left-hand side. You may have seen it on our Facebook and our Instagram as we've been promoting today's live stream. Thoughts on the kind of, card that we have being drawn today? And we can talk a little bit about the art that you see.
Yeah, am I doing it Basset Hound good?
Oh, yeah. The Basset Hound is like the fool of dogs. Entertaining. I've always said this, they can look really sad. They've got these droopy eyes and the long ears, and they're very mellow. But that hides the humour that's behind there. They'll make you laugh every day. So this one of the dog on its back being belly roped is just, Basset heaven. Basset heaven. Absolutely.
Yes, it's so perfect.
Good, I'm glad.
Look like that, they smile. It's like, they've got great faces, great droopy blues. That just, you've seen the pictures of the Basset running. Skin and that's just what it's like.
I've had to pull a few of those like slow motion, either pictures of them running or them catching food in slow motion with the there's like you look at a Basset Hound and you go like, oh, that's a droopy dog. You look at a Basset Hound in slow motion trying to catch food and it's like, oh my god, there is like at least 4 times as much skin on that dog's face than I thought there was at first.
And it's funny too, because for as much extra skin and as much droop and flop as they have, they still have very expressive faces.
Yeah. More to make expressions with.
Yeah, it's like, they do a really awesome stink eye. Like, I think one of the pictures that I sent you guys earlier this week of my foster dog Xena, she was just giving me the best stink eye. Like scowly face because she was mad at me for rebandaging her tail for like the 3rd time.
How could you?
But then they also get like really happy, excited faces. I've never seen a dog before I had Pearl. Had never seen a dog that was just so expressive. I've had dogs my entire life. We had a Welsh Corgi mix when I was a kid, and then as a teenager after she passed away, we got 2 little fluffy dogs, and they're awesome dogs. I loved them to pieces, but just I've never had a dog that was just so expressive, and even like the way that Pearl makes sounds, different. It's like she's talking to me. Like different noises mean very distinct, different things.
They're
like
very clear communicators.
On the couch noise, there's the I want to eat dinner now noise, there's the you're not paying enough attention to me while you're working noise, which I'm getting a lot these days now that I'm working from home. But yeah, it's amazing how communicative they are as a breed.
Yeah, that was even with, so the Basset Hound that I knew was my aunt's dog, and she lives like 5 hours away from me, and we don't get to hang out very much, but it's like, even with not getting to hang out with Andy very often, just being like a baseline dog person, and being around him as much as I was, I fully understood what he was trying to tell me whenever he was trying to tell me stuff, because like it's they know how to train people, I feel like, or at least he did anyway.
Oh yeah, they definitely have us trained.
You have a reputation for not being trainable. It's not really true. You know, there are lots of Basset hounds that do agility and obedience in the ring and all this, but what they really are is very clever. They don't do anything they don't have to.
Yeah.
You know, they're usually food motivated, so if they're going to get something, they might, you know, sit or down, but really they look at you and say, why?
Yeah.
You threw the ball, you bring it back.
Yeah.
They just know what they're doing. Yeah.
I tried putting Pearl through a Canine Good Citizens class one time, and I say try because not because she was hard to train or couldn't learn anything. It was she knew how to do everything perfectly. She just didn't want to.
Yeah.
So like at home we would practice all the stuff that they taught us, and I would use kibble or some other kind of just, I don't know, cheap dog treat, because you're giving so many treats that you know you kind of need to be frugal about it. And at home she would do everything perfectly. She would do up, she down, you know, walk nicely on a leash without pulling. Everything that we were supposed to learn she would do perfectly. And then we would get to the next training class and she would not do any of it, even just sit. And she knows sit. She's known sit since she was like 16 weeks old. She wouldn't do any of it until somebody else in the class would hand me some pieces of hot dog or nice tasty liver treats or something, and then she would do it. She would, oh, that treat is finally worth it, I will do it. But we didn't end up finishing the class because in order to take the Canine Good Citizens test, you have to be able to do everything without treats.
Ooh.
And she was not having it. I'd go with my bag full of treats that we used at home and did everything perfectly with at home, and she'd turn her nose up at it and be like, no.
Yeah, I have done when I was really young, one of my dogs and I went through a Canine Good Citizen course, and we passed, but it was a very near thing because she was kind of the same way. It's like, you know, she's not dumb. She knows there's better stuff in the other room. Like at home, yeah, sure, I'll do whatever you want. Give me a snack, whatever. But like, she knew that she had me over a barrel, but it was in front of other people. It's like I was willing to negotiate a little bit more over there. She completely knew it.
Given the experience that you guys have had, Addy and Susan, around trying to motivate Bassets, I mean, obviously they've got these big, long ears that help funnel the smell and all this other stuff, but are they? Let's talk a little bit about, you know, the obedience attribute that these dogs do or don't have as a breed.
What Basset hounds do a lot of is field trials and things like that. We talk about using their noses and funneling smells. I mean, that's almost what they were bred for, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So things like that, anything that uses their nose. Scenting classes, you know, they run these things where it's a bit organized and they hide things inside things and the dogs go find them. They're very good at that.
How do you get them motivated for like the obedience? Is it just purely like what we're talking about, just treats and, you know, for somebody who might be watching this and kind of thinking to themselves, wow, you know, Basset might be a breed to consider adopting?
I mean, if you want to be active with your dog, there's lots of things that Bassets can do that they'll do just for love. And this, you know, trailing and field trialing and that sort of competition, they're very, very good at. And as far as I know, because I don't do it personally, but their only reward there is to follow the scent. Is not to, you're not rewarding them to do that. They're just doing it because it comes naturally to them, and they're off and running. So I think, we have seen bassets, like I say, we see them in the obedience and agility rings, that they're obviously guided by treats. They're going to get something for it. Sometimes it's just a real good belly rub at the end. But they're food motivated. They will do things for treats. It definitely comes in at different levels. Some dogs are really good at the field trial agility type end of it, and some do not want to do anything no matter what you give them. So you have to learn to live with a basset hound, I think. You have to be a hound person. Don't expect border collie intelligence.
They're highly intelligent. It just manifests in a very different way.
Yeah, and that would drive me crazy. So I'm more of a hound person, but now my brother's got a border collie, and that dog will chase a ball forever. It will follow a light on a wall forever, and it's like, that's manic. That's that's compulsive disorder. I much prefer the narrow basset who will fall asleep on the couch with you as much as they want to go for a walk.
Yeah.
It's so funny to call them manic, because I definitely feel like I feel kind of the same way with other breeds, and like I have a Boston Terrier. I've had him. He's 8 now. And my sister, who is more of a cat person, will talk about how, like, is he depressed? He just, like, lies around and sleeps all day. Or, like, sometimes when he gets, like, really, really excited and starts shaking, she's like, oh my god, does he have, like, generalized anxiety? And I'm like, no, of course not. But then think about it, it's like, no, maybe my dog does have a personality disorder. It's just the ones that play nicely with mine. So it's like, if I want to lay on the couch all day and he wants to too, hell yeah, like...
That is why the Basset Hound is my breed. Because life goals are to do exactly what Pearl does every day, which is
take a
spend
nap.
the entire day on the couch.
Yep.
So
Just taking a nap, feeling good about yourself. Yeah.
yes, can get excited about a walk when she wants to go for a walk, but is also content not going for a walk.
We're not jogging people. We don't have to be jogging people today. I feel like that right now. Going out for like these mental health walks only. I'm like, do I want to be running? Like, no, not really.
Yeah.
No. So we were talking earlier, and I don't think the stream was on yet, around kind of some of the grooming needs and aspects of the Basset Hound. So would you guys share a little bit of your experience with just what are the needs of the human and what are the needs of the dog when living with a Basset?
Susan, do you want to lead off?
Sure. So, when I would do home checks or prospective adopter interviews for the rescue, usually the things that I would kind of warn about with grooming with Bassets, they do tend to shed more than some other breeds. They're kind of a short hair breed, but I think they shed more than other short hair breeds do in general. They also, which I didn't know this until after getting Pearl, and when she was growing into adulthood and her nails started growing out, I thought there was something wrong with her, and so I started doing all of this Googling about Basset Hound toenails, and hers are perfectly normal, but Basset Hounds have much larger toenails than other breeds, which is something that I think is not really talked about very often, so I like to warn people about that. Like, they're a good 1/4 of an inch in diameter, so you need a little bit more of a robust nail trimmer And their nails tend to be longer than other breeds too. Also, they're prone to ear infections, so you do have to clean their ears on a regular basis. And be careful about what you use to clean them, because if you use something that's too water-based, and then that water gets trapped in there because they've got the long droopy ears, that can help contribute to infections. You can brush them a lot, and that can help with the shedding. I've never been the kind of dog owner that likes to brush my dog all the time, so I just deal with the shedding. But the brushing can help. And let's see, I think as far as grooming, they drool a lot. Some more than others. Pearl has never really been much of a drooler. Penny was never really much of a drooler, unless she was anxious, and then she'd start getting the shoelaces of drool.
Shoelaces.
Toby drooled more. And if you do have a Basset Hound that is a drooler and they shake their heads, you will get drool everywhere. It'll get on your walls, it'll get on your ceilings, it'll get on you. So I think this may have been before we went live, where I was talking about it's not impossible to keep a nice, spotless, clean house with a Basset Hound, but it is a little harder than maybe with some other breeds, because there are some Bassets that are just very, very drooly all of the time. It's just, just depends on the... I think as far as grooming, that's kind of everything. Did I miss anything, Addy?
No, I don't think so. I would agree that they do shed a lot. However, if that puts anybody off having a Basset Hound, diet has a lot to do with the amount of shedding.
Yes.
Together with your actual individual dog. Some dogs shed more than others. My first Basset didn't seem to shed a lot. The second one really does. Things like, you talked about brushing. I don't brush my dog, very rarely. She'll get a brush if she's got particularly dirty. She's red and white, so she's got a lot of white on her, and I might just brush the white to get the dust off it. But they don't really need grooming in that way. They're not like a long-haired dog where you'd have to send them to the groomer all the time to be trimmed or have knots taken out.
Yeah, which is very nice, because even if you do need to go to the groomer, they think it tends to be a little less expensive, because they're not, having to cut mats out or brush mats out, or it's also very easy to groom them yourself if you don't want to have to deal with the groomer.
The only bit of the grooming that I would want a groomer to do, or the vet to do, would be the nail trim. Because I've never been able to cut my dog's nails. I'm lucky now that I have a son who's a vet tech and does it for me. But I'd always take them down to the vet office and have them do it, because they're just too big, and they're quite often black. The one in your picture here, typical of a tricolour Basset, black nails. You can't see where the click is. So that could be a bit frightening when you're trimming nails. But other than that, I've never had a dog that drills that much. Jess was the same, as it sounded like maybe you said Penny was. But if you went to a dog park with her, or in company where other dogs were around, and she would drool a bit, then you'd see a little bit of drool. But at home, no. And yet you do hear these stories of drool on the ceiling. So.
Yeah, I see pictures of people's Basset Hounds in the Daily Drool group on Facebook.
It's the Daily Drool group on Facebook?
Oh,
yeah. It's this group has actually been around a long time. It started long before Facebook. It was like an online message board kind of a page called the Daily Drool, and it's for Basset Hound owners or Basset Hound lovers. You don't have to own one to be a member of the group, but they're on Facebook now, and people post all day, every day about their Bassets. And so I've seen some posts in there about the drool, or the pictures of the long, shoelaces of drool hanging out of their mouths. But yeah, I've been lucky. None mine have been really too bad. Every once in a while, Toby would start smelling like sour gym socks if he'd been drooling a bunch, but it wasn't a chronic thing. So yeah, it just really depends on the dog.
So when we were and as we're looking at the art that we're devising and developing now, so maybe Sarah, you can kind of talk to us a little bit about, you know, the story, the emotion that you've been able to bring to life here, and kind of what it is that you're seeing, you know, when you see these dogs. I know you knew one, but you know, how did you choose even, you know, the coloration of our Basset for the game?
Well, the coloration is actually it is not identical, but it's very, very close to the Basset Hound Andy that I knew in real life. Just because I have a lot of photos of him, and, you know, well, not just because he's a very sweet boy, and, you know, a great ambassador for his breed. You know, I loved him a lot, and so it's great to be able to go through all the pictures and you know, be like, okay, so what emotion is this? If I have got like a funny zoom in on his face, I'm like, what is he feeling right now? You know, yeah. So that the coloration is a very direct call to Andy, the Basset that I knew. But it also feels like you know, it's a pretty. It is not a perfect, you know. Like, I don't actually know if this is like a breed standard coloration, like AKC type thing. But I figured it would be better to, you know, use it from a dog that I knew that was a Basset but wasn't like a show dog versus, you know, Alex, you and I have talked before about, like, when I first, you know, presented all of the dogs, I think the Palm in particular was very, like, looked like it had come just from the groomer and was very, like, I don't know, it looked like a show dog instead of a rescue dog, which is what these dogs are. So, you know, I wanted to use Andy, a dog that I knew in real life that was just a regular old, you know, I don't think he was a stray, but he certainly wasn't from a backyard breeder. He wasn't from, you know, they just kind of, I don't know that he was from a rescue, but he was definitely a charity case when they got him. So yeah, that's where his coloration came from. Yeah. In terms of the, you know, I don't know if that answers the question. Was there one about, like, emotion or, you know?
Yeah, and then of course, you know, like what we were talking about earlier, because you have, you know, Susan and Addy both saying that there's a lot of expressive emotion, and they'll do things just for the belly rubs. And I, like, you know, when I think, and it's great, and Susan knows this part too, where all I did was I just said, like, the card is just titled belly rubs. Like, that's it. Like, it's a simple card. It's one of the, like, easiest to understand cards in the game, and yet I just love how this is gonna, you know, just bring so much more expression and life into it. So, like, when you think about, or as you've done the art, like, what drew you to, what aspects do you draw the viewer's eye to?
Well, I think anytime as I continue to draw these dogs, I get kind of more of, like, these specific dogs that we were illustrating, their personalities come out a little bit more. And anytime I need, like, a big goofy expression, I tap the Basset Hound. Anytime I need something like athletic, I tap the Border Collie. Anytime I want just, like, unabashed pride, look at me, I'm so great, I do the Pomeranian. You know, like, there's different dogs that start to come to mind in this project in particular. And so for this one, belly rubs is like, I needed, like, it's a dog's favorite thing. Who of these dogs is going to be the most convincingly, like, in their feelings, just having the best time possible about having belly rubs. And the easiest way to do that is definitely with the Basset's big, you know, goofy face. Wrinkly dogs, or even wrinkly people, if you can really exaggerate the creases in their faces, and it's like, you know, he's got laugh lines. There's a very distinct, like, you know, smile going on here, and that's a lot easier to do on the Basset than it is on, like, you know, other dogs. Like, the Pom has such a tiny face, so it's hard to do emotion. Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope that.
Nailed it.
Well, I'm glad.
Agreed wholeheartedly.
I know, I love it. It's so great. So, you know, as we think about, you know, we talked a little bit about the, you know, the breed itself. So, like, what, and of course, kind of the human approach to kind of deciding, is this breed right for me? What do you think that? What do you think that the breed is looking for in an adopter? I mean, we talk about, you know, our desire, and certainly I share this desire of, like, I don't got to do anything. Yes. Right? You know, and then of course I'll have the zoomies where it's like, all I want to do is go outside. I mean, if any of us aren't feeling that yet after, you know, a couple of weeks now being at home, you know, I think this is a great example of like, what is the perspective of the dog? So maybe Addy and Susan, would you share with us, what do you guys think that the Basset is looking for in an adopter?
Someone to be home a lot. They are, like Susan mentioned earlier, they're a pack animal. Doesn't mean they have to have another Basset hound or have to adopt them in pairs. But if they haven't got other dogs, they definitely want other people. Doesn't mean you have to be home all day. But their ideal home would probably be a home where the mama's home a fair amount of the time, that they weren't going to be left in the backyard, they were going to be part of the family. It's a matter of personal choice, but you know, they might want to sleep in your bed. They want to be part of the family. They want their pack, whether it's, you know, dogs or humans, and preferably both.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think also they probably would, if they could, you know, formulate the thought about it, they probably would want somebody that's kind of patient. You know, because as we said before, they're definitely trainable, but they kind of march to the beat of their own drum. So having somebody that's going to have the patience to figure out what motivates my dog, so that, you know, they can train them or, you know, happily coexist. That, you know, that doesn't come in with expectations of, oh, this dog, you know, we're gonna play fetch all the time and we're gonna go jogging, and like that's maybe not to say the Bassets can't do that, because I've definitely met some that are very energetic and need exercise all the time, but you know, I think somebody that's a little bit more patient and understanding that, you know, they're okay with going with whatever the dog's agenda is too, not somebody that's going to, if you want a dog that's going to be, I hate using the word obedient with dogs, but, you know, a dog that's going to
Cooperate.
You know, do what you want all the time, that you want it to be a very specific way, you know, like maybe more of a working dog kind of a breed. That's Bassets probably aren't for you, but like they're easygoing, they're loving, they're really great family dogs, and they just want to be with you all the time. Now that I've been working from home because of the shelter in place, Pearl just kind of follows me around the house and just looks at me like, okay, what room are we going to next? And then wherever I am, she'll settle down for a bit. And then if I move to a different room, she'll move with me. And even though she's got my fiance and our other dog that she could be with, she just, you know, she just wants to do her thing. And then sometimes she'll go in the backyard and roam around for like an hour trying to find the perfect, easy place to bury something. But I think patience, somebody that's not going to be, that's just kind of willing to go with the flow of whatever they want to do, I think is, I don't know, maybe be the ideal.
what they're looking for. Like if they were to pick, what do their instincts tell them, right? Absolutely. So I love it. We're getting a lot of good feedback now from the channels. So I want to throw maybe the first question that is from YouTube. What is the Basset's preferred toy? And maybe just kind of, what's the best, like if you were giving a gift, I suppose, maybe, to a Basset, like what's a preferred toy? But I'll just open that up to you guys.
My first reaction would be that anything plush. But it can depend on the dog. My dog loves to de-stuff stuffed toys. Like squeakers, so those types of toys, they wouldn't chase the ball. They wouldn't particularly want a tough toy to play tug of war with you. They're more likely to settle down and de-stuff something or my dog carries her stuffed toys around with her and throws them around. When she wants to be playful, she plays with herself with a toy. Very entertaining to watch.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Pearl, when she doesn't really play with toys anymore, but when she was younger, she had some, stuffed animals that were her favorite. When I got home from work and she was excited to see me, she'd go and grab one of her favorite stuffed animal toys.
What are we doing with a toddler, to be honest, with these stuffed toys?
Yeah, and then Toby liked squeaky things. Penny never really gravitated to any toys at all. Oh, and Toby loved laser pointers. We play with him with the laser pointer. The other two Bassets are looking at him like he's crazy, and he's chasing a laser pointer around the kitchen. So I think that again goes back to, it just really depends on the dog too. Because I had a foster dog, the one that I had a year ago. She actually liked playing with the ball. She would pick the ball up and toss it up in the air and play with it by herself for a while, till the border collie decided she was going to be a jerk and would come take her ball back. But Allie, that foster dog, she loved playing with the ball when she could. She wouldn't really play fetch, but she did like playing with it by herself.
So safe bet is the plush one with a squeaker, and then depending on the dog, personal preference, maybe they play fetch or be mildly interested in the ball. So that's cool. I'll go to the second. I think it's a question here over in Facebook Live. Does it seem like Bassets tend to want to be people pleasers, or are they more independent?
More independent. They love their people. They want to be praised, and they just, depends what you mean by people pleasers. They are people pleasers by nature. They want to be with you, but you ask them to do so. Means by the question.
Yeah, I think they love being with their people, but they don't necessarily care if, I don't know, when I hear people pleaser, I think of our border collie. That she loves being told that she's a good girl and loves getting all kinds of praise if she does whatever it is that you've told her to do. She just wants to make you happy. Like, we can tell her just to randomly go outside, and she'll go out through the doggy door to the backyard, hang out there for a few minutes, and come back in, and she's wagging her tail looking at me like, I did what you told me to do. I'm such a good girl. But the Basset hounds that I've had, none of them have ever been like that. They are more, they love being with the people. They want to be with you. Some of them want to be on you. Like if you're on the couch, they want to be on top of you, snuggled up with you. So they do love their people, but they don't necessarily care if you're lavishing them with praise, unless that praise comes with tasty, yummy goodness. At least that's been my experience.
Great. And then I've got another question off of YouTube. Are they good with kids?
Yes.
Usually,
Well,
yeah.
yeah, usually yes. There's definitely been some that I've met that aren't, but for the most part, they're good at being a family dog.
They're just low to the ground, gentle, like can they're go with the flow. Will they also kind of go with the flow of like what a child wants to do, I guess.
Most of them don't mind being laid on and small hands, clasping them, and we definitely have some bassets, or have had some bassets come through that are not friendly with kids. That's why we always go through a foster home first to try and test out what they will tolerate, and it depends on their background. I would say every basset hound is born loving everybody, but some dogs, their past experiences lead them to be a bit more suspicious, and we'll have to say, only with kids over 12, or
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think a lot of it comes down to what kind of socialization they had or what their experiences were, because Pearl and Penny, we had both of them from when they were puppies, and they were around. I never had kids, but I would take them to things, family events where my cousin's kids were there, and they got used to being around kids. But then when I ended up with Toby as a foster dog, and then keeping him, adopting him, he was uncomfortable around kids if they were playing, screaming and running around and flailing arms and big, large, excited movements that kids do. Those kinds of things would make him a little anxious. He was never aggressive with kids, but you could just tell that he was a little uncomfortable.
Just not my favorite.
Yeah, it depends on the dog, which is the awesome thing about Golden Gate Basset Rescue and other rescues that that foster the dogs, because in fostering you this dog lives with you for a while, and you can test it out. Maybe that's not the best way to word it, but you can, while you're taking care of this dog in your home, you can present it with different experiences and kind of see how they react. And then when the dog is ready to be adopted, you have a lot more information that you can give. I've got neighbors across the street with kids. As I mentioned, I've got cousins that have kids, so I would always try to get my foster dogs around kids and see how they do. I had a cat. I have chickens, so I would be able to say how the foster dog did with other animals in the house, and it was always really nice to be able to have that information ready when somebody was looking to adopt, and say, you have a much better chance of saying whether this is going to be a good match for an adopter that way.
I would say that I think a lot of breed-specific rescues do the same, but we match a dog with an adopter, so we know the household it's going into, their level of activity, if they've got small kids or not, and if they've got a cat, if they live in the country, so we pride ourselves on the fact that we try and match the dog's temperament with what we know about the adopters. And we do that by interviewing adopters, visiting them at their homes, mainly to show them basset hounds, and make sure that we can see the sorts of things that you might want to be careful of with a basset, like counter surfing or on low tables, stuff like that. Yeah, but we match, and the foster home experience is invaluable in getting the information we need to make sure those dogs go to the right homes where they're going to live forever.
That's right. I think that's, again, part of the mission that we share, right, is how do we find, these wonderful animals, their forever homes, and how can we support that, and how can we support, how can our project help support rescues like yours? Because, you're doing so much. We already covered, the vast swathe of California that you cover, with a really small yet mighty team, and so for us at Dogs Bond Game, we are also too kind of in that same, all of us wearing multiple hats. We're all trying to pitch in where we can and really make it, a good project that promotes this responsible dog ownership and maybe gets to people more aware about these breeds and these rescues and these opportunities that are really in our backyard, right? I mean, they're I'm sure that as folks listen to this now and in the future, if you want to get involved with Golden Gate Basset Rescue, we've got their we're connected with them on Facebook and Twitter, as well as we've posted up their info, so that'll be great. Can you talk about, given that you guys are rescue, as folks are looking for these dogs, can you talk a little bit? You talked a little bit about your experience, Susan, with the rescue versus like a puppy mill, and then also too, I think Addy, your outline of kind of the vetting process for both the dog and the adopters is so great. Like, can you just talk a little bit about, again, the benefits of just the benefits of rescue and kind of what's setting our this volunteer group apart, to go really above and beyond in service of and finding the right homes for these animals.
Well, I can talk about our process. So we're all volunteers.
And the timeline. And the timeline, I think that's one thing we didn't touch on yet, is around how long, if somebody said, okay, I'm interested in starting this, it's early April, and of course, assuming that the world continued spinning, what would that look like? What would that process look like?
You mean if somebody decided now they wanted to adopt?
Or at least, get
for adoption,
and get involved through Golden Gate Basset Rescue. What does that look like?
So if somebody was going to apply to adopt one of our Basset Hounds, what a lot of people might do if they think, I love a Basset Hound and I want to rescue, and we would probably come up pretty high in the search fields, and they would go to our website and see only, I don't know how many we've got right now, but 2 available dogs, and they'd say, nothing I like here, I'll go look somewhere else. My recommendation would be that they don't do it like that they want to adopt a Basset Hound, so they do come to our website. Basically ignore what you're seeing there as available dogs. You might want to look at them, but don't think about them as the only potentials you've got. Fill in the adoption application. If you've owned Basset Hounds before, you'll probably just get a phone call from a specific volunteer, one of our volunteers, who will chat to you for however long it takes, answer all your questions, tell you as much about our process as we can give you. And then the majority of our applications do get approved. Some people worry they won't place a dog with me because I've got a pool, or I've got an unfenced yard, or I live in an apartment. We don't have fast and hard rules on any of those things. A lot of it comes down to you as an individual adopter and your willingness to understand the nature of the Basset Hound. So if you don't have a fenced yard, but you think you can just let your dog outside in your unfenced yard unattended, that won't work, because the Basset Hound will just put its nose down and run. But if you understand that you can't let your dog outside unsupervised, that you have to take it out on a leash, then you get approved. So most of our applications get approved. Once they're approved, they go to our adoption liaison team, who know the dogs that are on the website. They also know the dogs that are in foster care being prepared to be ready. So they they need spaying, neutering, vaccinating, all those other things. So they know what's coming in, and they will begin a dialogue with you as to potential dogs. So you could be lucky. You could get approved within a couple of days and go to the adoption team. They know the dog. This is a perfect match. And within a week, they could be saying to you, we've got the perfect dog for you. Meet the dog. Or they could be, they might get approved, but they only want a puppy, or they only want an under 1 year old, or those dogs don't come through that often. So they are on our approved adopter list, and we keep a constant eye on that list. So if we did get a very young dog in, or a pregnant basset hound, or but that might take a lot longer. You might be talking, for instance, in 2009 we did the Great Basset Rescue that we referred to. We took 61 dogs in one day. Most of them were 6 months to 6 years old. That was a huge intake. We obviously had plenty of dogs available. However, it took some of those dogs a long time to be ready for adoption. But the following year, 2010, we had 4 different litters come in. 2 were purebred basset hound litters and 2 were mixed litters. We got them either as newborn litters or as pregnant basset hounds. But since 2010, we haven't had 1 pregnant basset hound.
Wow.
1 newborn litter. Who knows what happened in 2010 to produce all those dogs. But so if you want a puppy from a rescue, you probably would wait a long time. And we usually get young dogs that young when they've been bought by somebody and they haven't realized what they're taking on, because everybody's image of the basset hound is this mellow, laid back, eat couch potato type dog. A basset hound puppy is like every other puppy you've ever had. It's crazy, and we've had elderly couples say, we can't manage this dog, so we get a 3-month-old dog, but it doesn't happen often. So it really depends. It could be within a week, it could be a couple of years if you're willing to be patient. And we keep in touch with our approved adopters so that we know that they still want us to match them if and when we get their perfect dog, or they've relaxed their guidelines a bit and say, okay, you're right, we're never going to get a 1-year-old, we'll take a 4-year-old.
Yeah, I think one of the things that that's great. That's awesome. And so if you're on the stream or listening to this in the future, sign up, right? And I think that's you don't necessarily lose. There's not really a losing a place in line or having a place in line. It's about what's right for the dogs and the adopters. And I think that's why I wanted to make sure we have this conversation with your organization, because you guys are doing such a great job.
Yeah, it's definitely not first come, first serve.
Yeah.
And you might miss a great dog by saying that you only want a puppy. You'll miss that 3-year-old that's past the worst of the puppy phase and it's just perfect for your situation. So, yeah, please do work with us to if you're interested in having a basset hound in your life.
Awesome. So now I see that Sarah is working on my favorite part of many of these illustrations, the boop snoot. So, and I always take advantage of this opportunity when she's drawing this part of the dog to say, if you're enjoying what you're seeing, please like our page and, do all the things. I don't know, Kiki and Sarah, you guys do it so much better. In which order do I go?
Like, comment, subscribe. Smash that like button. Don't forget to ring the bell.
Yes. Excellent. Yes, we have to do our dutiful YouTube
promoting,
right?
Yeah.
Kiki's keeping me honest on those now, which is just making things much, much better, higher quality. So thank you again, team. So while we're here, and I know that this is, been a really good opportunity for us to talk about Golden Gate Basset Rescue and Bassets writ large. So why don't we switch a little bit to the art itself. Sarah, Kiki, you want to take us through a little bit of the design and your conversations that you've had around the art?
Sure. I don't know. So I'm almost, well, I'm pretty much done with this piece. I'm just, smudging a little paint on the nose here because I can. But we're pretty much wrapped up. I can we can look at the if you want to talk about like what emotion I felt like bringing out, we can look at the pencil thumbnail that I did. That's absolutely horrifying, like we did last week. Let's see.
Yes, I would definitely like to see that after seeing the one from last week.
Okay, cool. Well, I know it's gonna take a second for the stream to catch up with y'all. But here's my this is all that I imagined when I thought about belly rubs, and I knew I was gonna do a Basset. I was like, emotionally, I was like, okay, this dog is like a melting puddle. And so you can see that I drew a melting puddle. It looks like someone made like a sculpture of a Basset hound and then like left it out in the sun a little bit too long, and it started to melt.
They do that.
Yeah, melts in the sun. Yeah. Yeah. But then
they go flat Basset on you if you
want. Oh. Yeah. I feel like this does a good job of like, the emotion or whatever. But again, this dog doesn't look like it has a skull in its face. So I had to go find some reference, some adorable reference and do my better sketch there. And then, we've got our color layer and some shadows, and that was what we started with for an underpainting. Yeah, that's like I said, there.
I love the evolution of the art. It shows me that and again, if for folks on stream, like this is that iterative layer of like showing the progression, and we are building this, as our passion project, and we want to bring that passion to all of it. And I love seeing, Sarah, what you're putting into it and bringing to it, right? Where, like the grass is laid down underneath that dog. Like I didn't even know that until I've just seen how the different opacity layers are kind of coming up. So it's just so great to see the evolution start to finish. Of course, the finish is, I mean, I'm without words to describe how happy I am whenever I mean, look at his face and the boob snoop, so good, and the floppy ears. Like you've given it also to one thing that I know is difficult to do with art is weight, right? Actually having weight and gravity kind of play through, and so it's done very, very well.
Thank you.
I enjoy it.
I'm glad. Let's see. We can put it in the frame of the card to see what the actual card will look like in the game here, since we're done. I know we've got some extra time to kill. I can start doing some doodles, but yeah.
And then
about what percentage of the cards would you say are done?
We're done? What percentage? I know we're I could go and count it up, but it'll take me a second. I've got a spreadsheet with all of our stuff finished. I know we're definitely past the halfway mark.
I wouldn't have said that. I would have said we're at the 49% mark. So yeah.
Yeah.
That's great news.
Yeah, because I mean, like, we've got this is batch B for
Batch B, okay, yeah.
Yeah, this is so we're doing all the event cards in batches. This is batch B. We only have a couple of those done, but we do have all the adopter art done. We have all the dog, all the adopter cards done. We have all the dog feature image cards done. We have I can't count the board because I'm not painting that. Kiki's designing it, but still, I feel like we are, either at halfway or past it at this point. Yeah.
Very exciting.
Yeah. It's kind of scary to think we're that close to finish. What?
So close, yeah. Kiki, you around? If you are, I'd love to kind of get your thoughts here as well to the design of it, since we do have one of the icons there, but also to your decisions on the framing of it too.
Okay.
Did we lose our audio?
No, I can still hear her. Can you hear Kiki?
I cannot hear Kiki. But
Oh no. Yeah, I can hear her. How about y'all? Addy, Susan? Oh no.
Nope.
The stream probably can if I can, because the stream is just my desktop audio. But maybe hop in and back out real quick, Kiki.
Okay.
Yeah.
I couldn't hear Kiki.
You heard that?
Hear Kiki on the stream.
Really?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
That's hilarious. I was like, that makes so much sense because I've been saying things.
Oh.
You know?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, can we repeat the question?
Alex, how about now? Can you hear her? Alex, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yes.
Okay. You can't hear Kiki?
Can you hear me, huh?
I can hear Kiki now.
Kiki, yes.
Great.
A little soft, but I can hear you.
I was thinking you've been awfully quiet this whole time.
Oh no.
I've been saying things. Okay.
Bless your heart.
That's okay. So Alex, could you repeat the question? Are you sure he can?
Alex? No, I'm not. I'm not sure he can hear me. Hello?
Oh, okay. So on the stream, I can hear Kiki, but I cannot hear her over Discord. I think that this is one of those like, oh yeah, we've only got a couple of things. We've got too many things going on. So
oh my god.
I'll just throw it to you, Kiki, because I think the stream can hear you, the YouTube, both YouTube and Facebook, but maybe I'll have to reconnect my audio. So please go ahead, talk about the framing, talk about the icons, and your contributions.
Okay. I guess for the frame of the card, I wanted to have something that would like have the art the art sit on top of it without clashing. So if we have do we have the frame? Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of solid colors, which is purposely contrasting the really painted style. But at the same time, I wanted to still tie it in a little bit. So the rough painted frame is kind of tying those together. For the icons, do you want me to talk about the whole, all the attributes? Okay.
And also too, your process, because as much as we've been talking about, our mission, our game, also too, like the people want to know about the art and the contribution of the design,
Okay. So I guess I started by trying to think of how to represent the pretty abstract concepts of obedience, temperament, health, and grooming. Grooming was probably the easiest because you brush your dog, it's groomed. So that was probably the easiest one. And then I think the hardest one was probably obedience. Although health wasn't super easy either, just because there's a lot of cliches around health. So I opted to go for a bowl of food with a bite out of it, because if your dog is sick, usually the first thing people notice is that they're not eating. So if they're eating regularly, that's a good sign that they're healthy, and I figured that was a pretty good icon to go with. Obedience was the treat with the bite out of it, because I think that's the easiest way to train a dog. As you guys were talking about earlier, they want the good treats, So there was that one. And then temperament, I think of how do you know a dog has a good temperament? Usually it's if you're playing with it and you two get along and it's fun, So we went through a range of different dog toys, but I think the most iconic one to me is the tennis ball, probably because my dog loves tennis balls. That's his favorite. Second to bears. He loves bears too for some reason.
Bears?
He just
like
he
stuffed teddy bears?
Yeah.
Okay.
Kind of, but it's anything stuffed that has a squeaker in it, he'll chew on it and then rip the squeaker out, and then he'll never touch it again.
Yep. Yeah, you can't have too much like return on investment with those toys. They can't let you, feel good about your purchase. No, it's like 30 seconds of play tops and then
Yeah. So we went with the tennis ball for that one. I think probably the second hardest thing to conceptualize was the size icons. Because originally, I think we told this story before, but basically we just wanted something that would translate across languages, across, any level of comprehension. So we ended up with a ruler with like a sliding scale on it for small, medium, and large. I think that's most of them. There's other ones, but
but I think what I as a non-design, like untrained, right? Untrained swine of between art and graphic design and illustration, I knew that there was a difference, but until this project, right, my first foray really working this closely with artists, I didn't understand, right, and like how to verbalize that didn't really come through until now. So, but I think that everything that we talked about again translates so well into the narrative, into the mission, into the project. Like, and yes, it is a product, right? But the intent there and the narrative there is held so well. I just enjoy every little bit of it. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Cool. So I'm remiss that we were having so much fun. I forgot to give a 30-minute warning, so we're at a 15-minute warning.
Okay.
But, I think what we should do at this point, is, and we're done with the cards. So card reveal, right?
Yeah.
Belly rub.
Yeah.
Susan, Addy, how'd we do?
I love it.
10 out of 10.
Yay.
I'm excited. I'm very, very excited. So of course, our project again, Dogs Bond, we're moving along, and like Sarah said, we're very close to where we are on track for our project. We're exactly where we expected to be. We are hoping to have this ready for print June, July, and then our Kickstarter targeting August, maybe a little earlier if we can get it. We are working very hard to bring this as a conversation piece, as a promotion of responsible dog ownership, and of course for fundraising to groups like yours. And now that you've gotten to spend some time with us, I hope that maybe we can talk to the board about you guys officially adopting us as your official board game. I think that would be a lot of fun. And yeah, let's we'll keep in touch on that, and hopefully the folks that are watching this will get to see an official announcement in the near future. Before we go, is there anything Addy or Susan that you guys want to give shout outs to anybody who is going to watch this or anything like that?
I can definitely say that we wouldn't be able to do what we do without support of our volunteers and our donors. We're a membership-based rescue where we do invite people to make monthly donations. It helps us to budget through the year. So I would make an appeal for anyone listening now or in the future to consider that, help us maintain our mission. But so we have no paid premises, no paid staff. So obviously 100% kudos to all the volunteers who work with us, because they do an excellent job.
Awesome. Susan, for you? Any closing thoughts?
No, not so much for me. I just actually I would like to maybe give a shout out to the rescue if are we participating in the waddle this year? Do you know, Addy? That might be a fun thing to tell people about.
Exactly. Well, true. So at the moment we're obviously a shelter in place. We've cancelled a couple of our spring events. But at the moment, we still have the waddle on the cards. Now, a waddle is a sponsored walk, basically, for Basset Hounds. They're held all over the country. All the different rescues have their own version of this. We do ours on July the 4th in Nevada, the little town near Petaluma in Northern California. It's a great way to spend the morning and a little bit of the afternoon. We walk 10 blocks. It's quite a hefty parade, actually. It's about a mile. We usually have about 100 Basset Hounds in that parade, and we hope to be doing that in July. Let's hope all this COVID-19 is over by then.
Yeah.
Yeah, to cross the fingers.
Yeah.
I can. If we can get within 6 feet of each other again, and do that parade, do that waddle, I'd love to join you up there in Nevada.
You should bring a prototype of the game and.
Will do.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Will do.
Yeah.
I'll ask Susan to come join me. She can help, tell everybody, her participation and her involvement. That'd be great. Cool. So we've got the card reveal. We've gotten to talk a lot with Golden Gate Basset Rescue. Thank you again for joining us. This made it really special, and we hope that you enjoyed the art that we chose to work on and complete while you were on the line with us.
Thank
Sarah,
you for having
Kiki?
us.
Of course.
Yeah, Sarah, Kiki, anything from you guys?
No, I'm good. It's nice to. I mean, I just thanks y'all for coming on and talking about like what it's like to work at a rescue and like what the breed is like specifically, because obviously us being we love to help dog rescues, but like just hearing from y'all who are like in the trenches actually working is great and very informative.
Yeah.
Excellent. So I wanted to make sure that we brought forwards, the opportunity to talk about all of this, and then show you, some art that really brings forward what I think, when I think about volunteer-based rescues, right? What's fun, what's whimsical, and what's hopeful about that, and and we're bringing that through this project, through the cards, through our mission statement, and everything else. So, that's what we got for you folks on Facebook Live and on YouTube. Thanks again, and like, share, subscribe.
Mm-hmm.
Destroy the subscribe button, and of course share this with the other rescues, Bassett or otherwise. We're trying to reach out to as many volunteer-based rescues as we can. U.S. In the U.S., UK, Taiwan, just anybody, and we'd love to connect over email and social. So if that's all, I think we're ending right on time, and hopefully it didn't. It felt pretty good, right, team? So.
Yeah, had some technical difficulties, but we're still here.
Thanks for hanging in there with us. If you got to enjoy those special technical difficulties, that's the joy of doing
the dark
live.
stream, the secret stream. Shh, just between us.
Awesome. So if there's nothing else, I think we're ready to sign out of the live, and then Addy and Susan, we're on Discord, so we can hang out for a few more minutes, and then we'll wrap it up for the evening. Thank you everyone who joined us.
Yeah. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Thanks for coming.
Bye.